388 right now. You asked the question, when is Hayley coming on? Let me please be the first to proudly and wildly introduce our special guest on today's episode of The Daily Drift here on the Complex Twitch channel. It's you, it's Hannah Rad, and it's Hayley Kiyoko. Let's go.
Hey,
Yo!
what's up, Hannah? How are you?
I am so good. It has been a minute since I saw you. I feel like last
know.
year we held Pride Out Loud Festival, and your world has changed dramatically since then in the best way because new music is out, which I'm like, low key, I know it's like kind of annoying when people are like, oh, when is new music? I'm such a greedy fan of yours. But I literally am, so I'm going to be shameless about it. We have new music, so I'm very excited that you're here to talk about it today. If anybody has a question for Hayley Kiyoko, by the way, go ahead into the chat, use the hashtag AskHayley. Let me ask you something first and foremost, since we're here on Twitch. What's your experience like here on the platform? Have you done a lot of live streams? Have you played games? What's your knowledge of being here on Twitch?
I feel like I'm a newbie with Twitch. I feel like I'm on Twitch with you. I've been on Twitch maybe a handful of times, but I definitely would love to be on Twitch more and play the games. And I don't know, I'm very competitive, so I feel like I would like the game space for sure.
You're absolutely not wrong when you say you feel like you're always on Twitch with me, because I literally never leave this platform. It's such a great way of connecting with individuals from afar. But I have to let you know, it's been a minute, and there's a special thing that happens here on Twitch. It's called a hype train. A lot of people threw some subs and some cheers, and that just means there's a whole lot of energy in the room. And you have just activated one for us, and we haven't had one in a while. So congratulations to you and the whole community here for giving us a little boost of energy here. Yes, we love the hype trains here. But we love that you're here as well, too. Like I said, there is a whole new album coming out in about 2 weeks' time. It's been a minute, and I say this politely and respectfully in a way, you take your time with your projects and there's intention and purpose, but this is the sophomore project, and there's been, quite a few years in between where you were to where you're at with Panorama coming in 2 weeks. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of why now, why is the right time to put this project out into the world?
Totally, and I appreciate you so much. It's been 4 years since my debut album, which is insane, and it feels like time's just flown by because we had 2 years of just bizarreness. And so but my Expectations album was my debut album, and so that was me. As a queer person, I feel like we're always coming out, and on top of that, you're always trying to catch up with your present self. And so with the Expectations album, I was sharing a lot of stories that I hadn't shared, and so I was catching up with my present self. And with Panorama, which is coming out in a couple of weeks, which is just insane. I cried on yesterday because I was just like, oh my God, it's coming too soon. I'm not ready. I am ready. I have been waiting for this moment, but Panorama is me catching up with my present self and getting to share a more refined version of who I've allowed myself to really be. And there's so much clarity within myself over the past couple of years of who I am and what I love about myself, and being able to have that be experienced within the album. And I feel like that confidence, that new level of confidence, really shines through with this new record.
No, it definitely does. And I'm so glad that you mention it as such, because you can't rush art and creativity, but you also can't rush experience. And where you were at with the previous album to where you're at now, so much in your worldscape has changed. And for everybody, like you said, 2 years of weirdness that we've all been exposed and experienced. But on top of that, just living your life, like you said, as someone who is now out and making music and being on a different level and platform as to where you were previously. You have to take time, because I feel like, and as a fan and a frequent admirer of your music and your artistry, it's authentic in its storytelling, and you're getting the real experience, but you can't write music about it until you actually let yourself experience it. So if it takes another 4 years, I won't be mad at you. I mean, I might be a little salty because I always need some new Hayley music, but it's good that you take your time with it. The first offering that we have here, or the latest track rather, Deep in the Woods, I'm really excited, one, because it's freaking awesome, but then two, knowing that you worked with Danger, and I'm like, Beyonce, Britney Spears, Hayley Kiyoko, what in the actual, can you talk to me about this? Because when it comes to those songs that just have this politely, like grimy bass, like feel that just like hits you in the gut. That's danger. And to have you linked up with it, I was like, I feel like this is a perfect marriage. How did y'all get linked up?
I mean, I was working on the album. I had basically finished the album, but I was missing that, what you said, this like griminess, this heavy bass, this heavy snare that my soul is always craving, like, because I grew up doing, percussion, and so I just always need that heavy 808 and that snare. And so I reached out to him. We did a couple like FaceTimes, and I was like, hey, this is where I want the project to be. This is where it's at. And he obviously was excited enough to believe in me. I flew out to Miami. We worked on the album, and I went through a process of kind of taking things apart and putting things back together. And so I was really grateful for him to be an executive producer on this album, because I grew up listening to like Arcade Fire and like indie band music is like what I love. And I love like walls of sound. And I think I've always wanted to have walls of sound, but also pursue pop music. And so he really allowed the space of being like, hey, let's keep these walls of sound, but let's also mute all this stuff so we can hear your voice really come through. And so I was really grateful for him, because he created that space for me to be like, listen, your voice needs to be heard. Stop hiding behind the sonics and the awesome production you're doing. Like, let your voice lead the way. And so I think that's definitely a notch up that I've experienced with this second album, and I'm hoping the fans will be really excited about. And it's definitely a huge contributor to the growth between the two albums.
I think that you mentioned such a great point, like allowing yourself that space. And I feel like knowing Danger's work over the course of like 20 plus years at this point, it's that grit, that grime, that dirty like punch or whatever, but it is this carved out pocket that he allows vocalists to shine. And much like yourself, like there is that nice balance where not one part or piece of the instrumentation or arrangement is going to outshine it. You let the vocals do their own instrumentation, and then the bass and the drums and all that do too. I'm like, the first thing that I thought of when I started listening to it, so he did the track Get Naked with Britney on the Blackout album, which is like underrated, one of my favorite Britney tracks, because I was like, this shit slaps. But he also let her like sing on this song, and it's like everyone's like, oh, Britney's not the greatest thing. No, like he let it happen. And so the fact that you have this and we're able to have this space to be able to create, it speaks volumes. I get like chills when I talk to artists like yourself, and there's this education that goes into it, not only from your perspective, learning from a producer, but that we get to learn through what your experience is like working with someone who's been legendary in the industry for so long. I think it's phenomenal. I'm gonna jump into the chat real quick, because we do have a couple questions about the album coming up. Again, guest is Hayley Kiyoko. Panorama is the name of the album, coming out July 29th. Someone here in the chat wanted to ask, I think it was Saba. Saba wants to know, what track on the upcoming album do you think is going to be the sleeper bop? Like the one that people it might not be a single, it might not be like out there pushed, but it's the one that people are really going to get down to.
I think there's a couple of them. One of them is definitely Underground. It's one of my favorite songs I think I've ever written. And it's a song, honestly, I feel like if someone was like, hey, what song is your soul in a record, and that would be Underground. I wrote that song during a dark time for me, but it also has this like epic beat during the chorus that kind of like encourages to keep going and to not give up. And to me, it's a banger, but it's definitely it definitely wouldn't be like, oh, here's the lead single necessarily, but it's my dream, but I would love for it to obviously have its moment. But I would say that's probably one of those creepers that will kind of creep in and be a fan.
Okay, I'm making a note for it right now. I was like, Hayley said it might not be a single, but Underground might be the underground bop that we all didn't know we needed.
Like
so
it's underground for a reason,
right?
It might creep
it's
in.
Just it's bubbling under here.
It really
I love that. It's so exciting, and I'm so thrilled with everything that you've had going on and being able to come into your own and now create a new album in space. I have a question, and this comes because I follow you on social media, and I saw that you made like new besties with Vice President Kamala Harris. What was you doing kicking it with Madam VP? Did I see this correct?
Yeah, just like on speed dial over here. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, three days before it was like, hey, do you want to come perform at Kamala Harris's residence? And I was like, well, absolutely. And we flew out. I was so grateful. I got to invite my parents, and I was the only performer, which I also didn't really know. And I like turned the corner and met the vice president, and she also let me know that this was the very first Pride event they've ever had at the vice president's residence. And so it was a very special thing to be a part of, and I was super honored to be thought of and included. And yeah, I'll never forget it. It was incredible. I performed What I Need, Gravel to Tempo, and For the Girls, like acoustic, super just organic and raw, and it was just an unforgettable moment for sure.
That's like no pressure whatsoever. It's like, this is Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. Please come for the first ever Pride event at my home. Like,
yeah, you're being requested. Like,
Like, is there a moment ever?
I literally, I was saying, I felt kind of dumb because in my mind I was thinking like, imagining like going on like this cute suburban street with like trees like lining the street. I don't know, that's like my vision. But of course, like she lives like on the U.S. Naval Observatory, so it was like gates and gates, and you know, so that was a rude awakening.
There's maybe like a few Secret Service ops around there. Maybe
just like a bunch of ID checks. Totally.
Yeah, it's not like you just like go up and like ring the doorbell and you're like, "Hey, Kamala,
that's what
I'm
I'm
here."
saying. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to her house," but that's obviously not what the reality was for sure. But
super
I was
cool,
very
though.
grateful to be a part of it. Yeah.
That kind of recognition, I think, that speaks volumes. And you know, it's amazing to see all of the spaces and places that you've been able to be in. Like I said, I was telling everyone before, from the acting to the music to the singing to dancing, everything that you do. I mean, it's an understatement to call you talented, because you just do it, and you do it all so well. I want to go like way back in time though, like pre-Unfabulous, before Wizards of Waverly Place. I did a little research, and you need to correct me if I'm wrong.
Where are we going?
We're going way back, because one of our favorite topics of conversation, I mean, we talk pop culture and music and movies and fashion and sneakers here on the channel, but food, and specifically one food in general, is like super divisive here. Did you or did you not star in a Cinnamon Toast Crunch commercial back in the day?
I absolutely did. And honestly, it was one of the highlights of my career. It truly was, and I'll never forget it, because I like waited in line. It was like a cattle call. Like, it was just like so many different callbacks, and I was like, and first of all, I was obsessed with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, so I'm like, I love this cereal. Like, are you kidding me? These are iconic commercials. Like, please, for the love of God. And I found out it was like a band, and I was like, I could be a rock star. Like, that's what I want to be, you know? And so
like, this is me. I'm right here.
I got the part, and I remember celebrating, because it was like the first time I had like made money, and I went to the store with my mom, and I bought these Gwen Stefani lamb shoes, and they were like metallic golds with like green and red, and I was like so excited, and I wore them to school. But yeah, I did that. You can probably find it online. It's the commercial is pretty epic.
Well, we'll have to take a look. We have limited time here today, but on Thursdays, we usually do like a throwback Thursday type of segment. So producers behind the scenes, we're going to need to drum up this commercial and run it back one time for our Thursday segment.
No one's brought that up in a very long time. That was very special moment.
Well, I have to tell you, Hayley, we talk about Cinnamon Toast Crunch so much because we do all these different segments about new products. And yes, well, number one, do you remember did you see what happened last year when the dude found like shrimp tails in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Yes.
Okay, so that was like a big story we covered and talked about here. And then there's like new products like a yogurt or a waffle. Or
I was pre-shrimp tails.
Okay, you were pre-shrimp tails. Fact check it. She was pre-shrimp tails with the CTC.
Yeah,
that's why we love it.
I was.
The OG. One of our producers said she already found it. So she's in the chat telling us we found it. Maybe a little later in today's show we can take a look at it. But we're not going back in time. We're moving into the future. Obviously, you have the new album coming out in about 2 weeks' time. when you release music, do you have the mindset that like once it's done and it's released and it's put out there, like it's not yours anymore? Because it's open to interpretation from anybody who places their ears on it. Like, or do you still have this kind of like, well, this is still like me and my child and my baby, but like now it's out there for the world. What does that feel like for you as someone who's released tons of great music?
That's a great question. I think a lot of artists can relate to this kind of like grieving experience where you are saying goodbye to it almost. Because I mean, for me too, like my first album, I kind of wrote it and just released it. And with this album, I've had it. I've been listening to it for a year now. And so I don't feel like it's not mine anymore. I just am so excited that I finally get to share it with my fans. And hopefully it'll help them feel heard and seen and understood as it's done for me. And so but I think all artists kind of go through this like emotional process, and there's a lot of like highs and lows of like, wow, like even like yesterday, just like waking up and crying because I'm like, holy crap, like my album's coming out in 3 weeks and like people are gonna hear it, you know. It's a very vulnerable experience, but I'm so excited because the album is awesome. I'm honestly so excited to share with people.
I'm excited to hear more of it. Deep in the Woods is the latest track you can listen to right now. Go check out the visualizer. It's dope. Danger Production, an EP. You take the album, it gets released on the 29th, and then you go out on the road. You're on the road with Lauv, right? For the summer?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That's so sick. He's such a good dude, so talented. What's the mindset for you, like, going into this space of, like, I'm releasing something, but now I'm also releasing, like, the live performances as well? It's like a whole nother birth of something and a new evolution in the career.
It's really cool because it's like you only have a first one time, right? And so when you get to play your new music for the first time, it's just such an incredible feeling. It's just such a different experience and a new medium to kind of explore your truth and sharing the sonics with people. So I'm really excited to go on tour with Lauv. Like, come say hi to us. We're going out, like, I think August 11th is when it starts. And I'm so excited to play some of the new music for everyone. And then hopefully, obviously, in the future, I'll have like a headlining tour and get to see more of you. But, you know, I know you said it's been a while.
No, wait, pause. Not hopefully. You will have a headlining tour.
Thank you. I will have a headlining tour. You know, now it's just the past, you know, with the pandemic and everything, I've just kind of like kept my expectations, learning from my expectations album, keeping them kind of low and just kind of like going with what happens in life and enjoying it as it comes, you know.
Yeah, well, listen, unfortunately, my expectations for you have always been very high, and you meet them each and every time, and then you supersede them, and you keep growing, and you keep glowing, and I am so bummed. I feel like I've never been this sad on the show before, because I know your time is extremely limited today, and I need to let you get out of here. The producers are like, you gotta let her go. She's got to go somewhere.
I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
I'd love to come back and chat with you more, because like, I always have a great time with you and everyone watching and hanging out with us. Like, thank you for all your support and like, I really appreciate it. I'm so excited for you guys to hear it. And let's chat once you hear it and see what you think about Underground.
Well, listen, I'm gonna say, screw it. I got one more question for you. I'm gonna push it an extra minute. I noticed, are you in the studio right now? Where are you? Are you in your studio?
This is my home studio. Yeah.
Okay. Does that mean more music is coming? Like, what's happening? You're giving us a little like Easter egg hint.
You haven't even heard my album yet. You're asking me about new music after the album?
Because I already know it's gonna slap. My expectations are going to be met. I'm telling you this.
There'll always be new music. I will always create music, I think, for the rest of my life. Nice. And so and you know, as you know, it's like as artists, like you write for your album, and then there's so many songs that maybe don't match the album but match something else. So there's a lot of awesome things coming up, and I'm happy to be back sharing the work that's been done. And we back, baby. Here we go. HK2.
Yes, we back, and we are going to be treated to Panorama on July 29th. Today's guest has been and will continue to be the ever-talented and amazing Hayley Kiyoko. Hayley, thanks so much for joining us here on the show today. It's always a pleasure catching up with you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Hannah. Mwah. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.